Okay, we're ready to go. So let yourself sit comfortably. Hello. And you know, if you're on the floor and you'd rather sit up on blankets, do whether you need to stretch your legs out or cross them, just be comfortable in your hips. And close your eyes and just gently lengthen upward. Now, just a reminder about the masks. If you decide that you need to take it off during class for a little bit, go right ahead, you know, just so you feel like you're able to breathe and start to enjoy your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Enjoy feeling that sense of reaching up through the top of your head and feeling length in your spine here now. It makes it easier to breathe. And let your breath come into your belly, feeling your belly rise and expand as you inhale. And on your next exhale, allow your hands to come on out. If you're on the floor, fingertips lightly touching the ground here. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And let's inhale our hands just a little bit now off the floor if you're on the floor, and circle your hands around. Just be easy, feel your wrists and kind of wiggle your fingers around a little bit as you circle. Reverse and go the other direction if you can. And then let yourself send your fingertips up, have the hands flexed, rise the arms up so that they're about parallel to the floor. So you're feeling really the undersides of the arms here. And then let your fingertips face down towards the ground so you feel more the tops of your arms. And then from here, release your arms on down, take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. So bringing your right hand on around behind you as far as you want to go into that twist. And lengthen up. So you feel that twist in the middle of the back. You feel your sitting bones drawing down towards the surface you're sitting on. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and keep on going into the twist in the other direction. So just waking up the spine. Again, as you lengthen up through the top of the head, feel your chin about parallel to the floor. And one more inhale. And let your exhale bring you on back around into center again. Let's come on forward a little bit here. So, you know, if you're cross-legged and it doesn't feel good to come forward a little bit, you can stretch your legs out if you need to. If you're in your chair, if you want to widen your feet out and come elbows above your knees, you can. And, you know, take time, feel the length of the back here. So you come forward from your low back. But if you come forward from there and you feel like it's okay to hang your head, maybe even if it feels okay to round a little bit in your back, you can. Just be mindful. You don't want to put stress on your back. Let it feel good. Feel your breath coming into your ribs a little bit here. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly let ourselves come on back up. And if you're cross-legged on the floor, switch to cross your legs. If you need to stretch them out briefly before you bring the other leg in front, do. Just take your time. And then again, sitting up nice and tall, releasing your arms on out beside you. Let's inhale just our right arm all the way out and up. And then bend your elbow. Let the hand come maybe behind your head, maybe behind your neck, maybe to your upper back. That depends on your shoulder. Just enjoy reaching up through that elbow a little bit if you can. If your shoulder doesn't let you, just adjust how you need. And then reach into that nice long arm again. And let's come over into a side stretch. So your left hand can go to the floor to give you a little support. If you're in your chair, you can hold the chair or let your arm hang down there. Just breathe into the side you're stretching. And then we'll rise on back up and lower that arm on down. And we're going to inhale our left arm all the way out and up. And again, bend that elbow at first and really adjust how you need to. If your elbow needs to come out or forward. So you find what feels okay for your shoulder. Letting yourself open up a bit there. And then release into that long arm again, and we'll come over into the side stretch. So again, the right hand can give you a little support there on the floor. Breathing into the left ribs here. And then we'll come on back up to the top and lower the arm on down beside us here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now let's all stretch our legs out. So if you're in your chair, you can keep your knees a little bent if that's better. And we'll start to just move through our feet now. So see if you flex and point your feet. If you can just let yourself really feel when you flex how you really tighten up in your quads and let yourself just enjoy coming through the feet there when you point as much as you can. And then come on back to flexing and then start to circle the feet. Now you can do opposite directions if you rather than making them go the same way. Just whatever feels comfortable for you. And then reverse and go the other way. So just waking up through the ankles. And then kind of shake out a little bit, shake out through your feet. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. And if you know you do not want to be on your knees, don't be. Use a blanket. You can always be up on the seat of the chair. You can have your hands, if you'd rather, down on your thighs and move through your back that way, right? Just be mindful of your wrists. If you need to come on to fists, do. If you feel okay to be flat on your hands, then spread your fingers nice and wide. And as you exhale, drawing up into cat pose, feel the navel drawing towards the spine. Let your head release down. Feel the tailbone dropping down. And on your next inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Feel how your belly sinks down, your ribs, your heart. And you can look forward for cow if it's okay for you. So just start to ease your way between your cat and cow, focusing on that lovely movement through your spine. See if you can imagine your tailbone leading. So your tailbone's the first thing that you feel either tuck up under you to come up into your cat pose or reach back and up to move through into cow. So finding that really easy, very natural flowing through your spine. And kind of imagine, if you can, that the head is a part of your spine. So when you move from the tailbone on up, your head is kind of the last thing that comes into place there in either your cat or your cow. Finish off the one you're on. Let's come then to a more neutral spine. Take your time, let yourself look down between your hands. Then we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge here. So your hands can be up on the seat of a chair. Your hands can be on the blocks any height or down to the floor if you want, right? Remember, your blocks have 3 heights. So if you decide you want to adjust the height of the blocks, do. The length of your lunge, totally up to you. Let your feet be like you're on those narrow railroad tracks, and then just enjoy bending that front knee no farther forward than your ankle. Take your time. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Coming into that length now, through the back of your body. And we're going to switch legs. So how you switch is totally up to you. You might like to step forward or you might like to step back. So take your time. Draw your shoulders down. Again, find that alignment in that front knee. Feel the feet now, just gently pressing away from each other, like you're trying to lengthen your mat longer with your feet. Feel how your belly engages, your low back, your hips. Good, we're going to switch legs again. Now this time, once you get into your lunge, if you feel like you want to bring your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, you can, so that you come a little more into your legs, a little bit out of your hands and your arms. You don't have to do this part at all. And then we're going to switch legs again. So again, getting that alignment in your lunge, pressing the feet gently away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat, engaging that belly there, and if you like to lift your right hand or forearm up, you can. And feel the whole back of your body really lengthening out here. Good. We're going to step forward from here and come into standing forward bend. Very different for each one of us. Try to let your feet be hips distance apart and parallel. Remember, if you know any kind of rounding in your back feels not good, support yourself how you need, with your chair, your blocks under your hands, or maybe your elbows above your knees to have that length through the spine. So in your forward bend, remember, knees can be bent as much as you need or straight. Just simply let the torso coming forward help the backs of the legs just gradually release a little more. And then come into your breaths. Nice, full, deep breaths here. Good. So one more breath. Feel the ribs expand in all directions as you inhale. And then bring your hands onto your hips, bend your knees, press into your feet to rise up to standing, and let's inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now look down at your feet and make sure that you're pretty parallel with your feet, right? You've got your feet, hip pointer bones lined up about with the center of your feet. And feel that nice sense of the four corners of your feet into the floor, but your arches lifting up a little bit. And then go ahead and bring your gaze forward. Let your hands come to be right in front of your chest. And there's no right or wrong way to bring your hands in, right? Whether your thumbs like to come a little higher up in the chest or a little lower down, doesn't matter. Just allow yourself to come into feeling your hands meeting there, gently in front of your chest. And as your gaze comes forward, whether your eyes are open or closed, imagine you're looking out towards the horizon. And feel that sense of space in the back of your neck and throat. Tailbone just dropping down towards between your heels. And just enjoy, once the body aligns, coming into mountain pose, easy, kind of effortless to be in your mountain pose once you get aligned. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees as you come on forward back into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat tabletop back. Now you can have your hands on your shins or your thighs to do that, or your blocks or your chair. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears now. Keep the feet gently pressing away from each other. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. Now where your hands are for your down dog are up to you. Up on the chair, onto blocks if you'd rather, onto the floor if you'd rather. Let yourself take your time, walk a little bit, bend a knee at a time in your dog just to adjust a little more into your legs. Feel your elbows softly hugging towards each other. Reach back through your sitting bones. Remember, it's fine to keep your knees bent in dog. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards plank. Now, as you come into plank, it is up to you how far you go with this. You can come down with your knees, do a half plank. You can do little push-ups if you choose from your plank. If you like to bend your elbows in towards your ribs. It doesn't mean you have to go all the way down, right? You might just want to bend the elbows a little bit, just to feel the arms, the shoulders. And then we'll come on back into down dog from there. So take your time as you reach back again. Feel free to adjust into your down dog. And you know, how your shoulders feel. You know, the height of the hands makes a huge difference. Good. We're going to bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And you can put your knee or left knee or both knees down to get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. And again, be really mindful. Use whatever support you need. If you like to stay with your hands or forearms above your knees, I know some of you are fine to go ahead and fold, maybe even letting your hands come to your elbows. So be mindful so that you're not putting any kind of stress into your back. If you can let your head hang too, so you feel that heaviness of your head. Let your face soften. Really let go all around your eyes and all around your mouth. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline, and then bend your elbows. Let your hands come maybe to the top, maybe a little towards the top of the back of your head. And hug your elbows forward a little bit if you can. And you can just let the tips of your fingers and thumbs touch if that's better. And then see if you can just look up a little bit so your head presses gently into your hands there. Looking up slightly. Now make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward when you do that. One more breath here. And then bring your gaze on back forward. Extend your arms back up overhead. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as you fold forward from the hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back again. And this time we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. Pressing the feet away from each other, engaging the belly here, making sure of that alignment of that front knee. Good. Inhale. And exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So again, whether you want to use your hands up higher or you want to go to the floor, be mindful. Feel like you're hugging your elbows towards each other. There's a bit of a sense of hollowing in your armpits a little bit. Take your time. Again, knees can be bent in your dog. We're going to come on out towards plank. Now again, you don't have to go into that full plank. Totally up to you. You can put your knees down. You can come to your forearms. If your wrists bother you, feel free to come right down to your forearms. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose again. And this time the left foot will come forward to come into lunge. So again, however you need to get it there. Good. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, be mindful of your own back. Come to where you're able to be. And then start to just watch your breath. And see if you can, as you feel the breath coming in and going out through the nose, you can feel the ribs expand in all directions when you inhale. And every time you exhale, just imagine the face relaxing more and more, letting go through your jaw. Good. One more nice full breath. And then as we bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips, we'll press into our feet and rise straight on up to standing and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's bring our arms out beside us and then bring your left arm on top of your right to give yourself a hug. Let your elbows kind of melt down. Doesn't matter whether you hold down kind of low towards your armpits more or up and over your shoulders. It depends on what feels good for you. But then from there, sit back into a little chair pose. And it doesn't have to be a deep chair pose, right? Think about looking at your knees, making sure they're coming out over the center of your feet. So you're not letting your knees come inward or outward, right? They're right out over the center of the feet. And then look forward maybe 5 or 6 feet on the floor. And you can stay right here hugging, or you can release your shoulders and bring the backs of your hands towards each other for an eagle wrap. You can even put the right hand onto that left palm if you choose to. So feel the weight now shift a little more to your heels and press down into your heels. And then as you keep pressing down into the heels, rise on up to standing here now. And then release your arms on down beside you. And on your inhale, float your arms up into a T position. And then we'll bring the right arm on top of the left. So the hugging of the other side. Let your elbows melt down. Let yourself feel that space between your shoulder blades on your back. And then sit back again into a little chair. Now how low you go is up to you. You can stay higher so the knees are just bent barely. You can go lower if you want to and a little farther back with your hips. Take your time, and then when you're ready, let yourself release into either eagle or half eagle wrap, or stay hugging, whichever works for your shoulders. Good. Now feel your heels in the floor. See if you can press a little more deeply into your heels. Keep pressing into the feet as you rise on up to standing again. And then let your arms again release on down beside you. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, come on forward to the flat back and stay about parallel to the floor, like you're a tabletop with your back. And your arms are out like airplane wings. So reach out through the tips of the fingers, reach back through your tailbone. And then let yourself release into your standing forward bend. And from here, place your hands and walk back into a down dog. So you put your hands the height you like to use. So you can actually experiment a little bit. If you have them up and you think, well, I like to put them a little lower, you can. Or vice versa, right? And then come on out to plank. Take your time. If you like to add a back bend, now's your time. You can come down to the floor, do a sphinx on your forearms. You can do a little cobra. You can let your pelvis come through and come into a little up dog if you want to. Not necessary to do a back bend at all. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Walk your dog a little bit. Let your head turn a little from side to side. So you release, you kind of look underneath one arm at a time. Good. And then come on back to your full dog. And let your next inhale again bring you out to that plank. Totally optional to do a back bend, or what kind as well. So whether you do a back bend or not is up to you. And then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. Good. This time we're going to bring our right foot forward to find lunge, and it doesn't again matter how you get it there. And then we'll come on back again into standing forward bend. Go right to those breaths. See if you can let yourself find those little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale, that little space before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales, that little space before you inhale. Imagine for a couple of breaths that you're really relaxing in those little spaces between your breaths. Kind of almost feels like a feeling of suspension, really. Good. And one more breath here. And then we'll bring bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chest, in front of our hearts. And if you need to adjust, sway a little bit into your mountain pose or adjust anything at all, let yourself adjust. Coming into mountain pose easily here now. So just take time. Once you feel pretty aligned, remember, once the pelvis gets aligned, it's almost natural that the hips want to come over the ankles and the shoulders over the hips. Think about your ears being over your shoulders. And then just imagine for a couple of breaths that you're being supported by the air all around you. We'll go ahead and let our arms unfold on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. Walk around if you need to. Move through your feet. And we're going to come into some warriors. So I'm going to flip my chair around. If you're using a chair, you might want to do that. And have your blocks handy so you can reach them if we need to. We're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior one. So letting our shoulders stay essentially square towards the front of the mat. And then getting that back foot aligned at the angle that feels fine for you when you have the foot on the floor here, right? So the heel goes back a little bit, maybe a 20 or 30 degree turnout for your foot. And then bend that front knee and look down for a second. Bring your hands behind you actually, and let your left hand encircle your right wrist. And look down at your left knee. Let yourself be really mindful of not going out beyond your toes with your knee. And then start to bring your gaze on forward. So you're feeling nice and open across your chest. You feel your shoulders drawn around towards the front of the mat. See if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly and then the ribs and then up into your chest. And then when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest first and then the ribs and then the belly. Good. And then release your arms on down beside you. We're going to inhale the right arm all the way forward and up overhead and circle it back behind us as we exhale it on down. And we're going to go to the left arm, inhaling it up overhead. And as it goes behind, exhale as you reach it back and down. And let's do both arms. Inhaling both arms forward and up. And on the exhale, let them circle on around behind you. And then as you inhale, keep going up. Let's come on into warrior one. Let your arms be either wide V or hands over your shoulders. Turn your pinkies more towards each other. And then see if you can imagine as you look up just a little bit that you have a bar right at the base of your shoulder blades. And you're trying to just kind of lift up. That part of your back is kind of pressing into that bar right there. The belly is engaged. There's no compression in the low back, right? Let yourself just enjoy. Inhaling up the front of your body. And imagine the exhales releasing down the back of your body. Good. It's like your arms are growing out of your back. One more breath. And then we're going to lower our arms on down beside us. And we're going to turn sideways on our mat. Let our feet get certainly wider than the shoulders. How much wider is up to you for a wide-legged forward bend? And of course, as you come on forward, if you need to grab blocks, have your blocks underneath your hands, do. And then take your time, bend one knee at a time at your own timing so that you can find a little bit more there for your inner thighs. Of course, if this bothers your knees, don't do it. But if you can bend one knee and then the other without any kind of discomfort or pain or anything, you can let yourself ease your way back and forth. Good. And then come on back into center and let your hands either be on the floor or the blocks in front of you so you have a nice flat back, long back here. And then we'll bring our right hand on up to our right hip, and we're going to roll that right shoulder up. You can put your hand, the flat of your palm, right down on your sacrum. Lengthen out through the top of the head. Now, see if you can bend your knees a little bit and press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And then bring that right hand on back down, and we're going to bring the left hand up, and we're going to roll that left shoulder up. Palm down, staying quite level there, right where your hand is on your sacrum. Press the feet away from each other. Imagine your inner thighs melting their way behind you. And then come on back down with that hand. Good. And then from here, set yourself up to stay in this pose for some breaths. So you may decide you want to stack blocks up, get out of your hands, and have that longer back, right? Some of you I know like to fold forward and put your hands down towards between your feet or onto your ankles. So be really mindful. Elbows above knees is a good way to support the back if you're feeling like you want to keep the length of your back. And then just breathe. Full, even as you can, deep breath. So think about your inhales and exhales being pretty close to the same length. You can count when you breathe in and think of reaching that same count when you breathe out. Good. One more nice, full, deep breath here. And now, to rise up from here, let your knees bend. Take your time. If you need to bring your feet together before you rise yourself on up to standing, by all means do. And then we'll definitely walk our feet on together and move around a little bit. If you need to move through your feet, your ankles do. We're going to come into the other side here now. So coming forward towards the front edge of your mat, and then stepping your left foot back and coming into that warrior one on the other side. So getting your shoulders around, square towards the front of the mat. You know, you can always kind of put your hands on your shoulders, look down, and you can kind of tell if you bring your elbows a little forward, if you've got yourself squared off. And then release your arms on down. Let's bring our right hand to encircle our left wrist, and let yourself just rest your hands there. Bring your gaze on forward. Feel that wonderful openness across your chest. And then, of course, those three-part breaths are kind of easy to do in this pose. Inhaling into the belly and the ribs and up into the chest. Letting the exhale come from the top and go down to the bottom. So it is kind of similar feeling to like you're on an elevator ride. Rising from the bottom to the top as you inhale. And then just going back down as you exhale from the top to the bottom. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us. Let's inhale the left arm forward and up overhead. And as we exhale, let it come on back behind us there, reaching as best for that big circle as you can. And then we'll inhale the right arm all the way out and up. And again, as you reach back behind yourself as best you can, letting it come down. Both arms together, inhaling up the front. And then, of course, as you exhale, the best you can to bring them on around. And then we'll inhale and rise the arms on up. Now, you can do a wide V if you'd rather. You can keep the arms forward if you need to. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Imagine now that the arms are coming from back here, right? You're growing like almost out of your back with your arms. Tops of the shoulders are released down. And then that lift up if you can. That lift right at the base of the shoulder blades. Belly is lifted gently. You're not trying to tuck your tailbone up under you though. Energy all the way up through the fingertips. One more breath. And then as you bring your gaze back forward and let your arms come on down, we're going to turn again for the wide-legged forward bend. So grab your blocks if you need them. Take your time and come on down. And go ahead and adjust the stance. Like if you need to get wider or less wide, go right ahead and do that. And then let's walk ourselves over to the right. Now you can use your blocks if you want, walking towards your right foot. You can go all the way to the foot if you want. You can hold on to the outside of the ankle if you want to. Or you can keep your hands forward on the floor of the blocks in front of your foot. And then we'll come on back through center. We're going to walk over to the left. So again, you can walk and leave your blocks out in front of you. You can walk closer towards your foot, hold on, and draw your torso over if that feels good. Good, and then we'll come on back into center again. And let's find that nice flat back again. So either hands on blocks or the floor, whatever works for you, finding that nice flat back so you're lengthened out. And this time, let's put our left hand up on our hip first. Roll that shoulder up. Put your palm down onto your sacrum. Now, I know some of you want to stretch that left arm up. So if it feels good, you can stretch your left arm up. If you're like, yeah, no way, don't do it. That's pretty intense in shoulders. We're going to come on back down with that left hand. And we're going to come to the right. Right arm coming up, hand coming up. And letting ourselves roll that right shoulder up. And again, if you like to stretch your arm up, you can. You don't have to. And then come on back down. Let yourself release, bending a knee at a time till you adjust again. And then set yourself up again. Whether you like to use blocks maybe under your head, maybe under your forearms. Maybe you feel like you just as soon release elbows above your knees. Or even fold to bring your hands between your feet or onto your ankles, but just find that spot where you're not feeling any kind of struggle, where you can actually release into watching your breath without having your body distract you because you have some kind of discomfort, right? So you're supported enough to be able to easily accept your breaths in and out. Of course, if any of you are familiar with Ujjayi breathing, the breath that comes through the throat as you inhale and exhale, you're more than welcome to come into those breaths. Good. Take your time now. We're going to make our way on out with our hands so that we can help ourselves on up to standing. So bring yourself up and walk around a little bit. Move through your feet and your ankles. Take your time. And we're going to come into Warrior 2 this time. So again, as you come towards the front of the mat and you step your right foot back, this time heels are lined up and back foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat. The left foot parallel to the long end of your mat, and that bend of that left knee now, definitely you want to have the knee lined up so it's not coming inside your foot, but it's coming out over the center of your foot. And then just float your arms on up and out from your shoulders. Flex your hands for a second and let yourself look at the back of your left hand. And then go ahead and let your palms come down. Reach out through your fingertips now. Feel energy all the way out through your hands, out through your fingertips. Feel your feet gently pressing away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Think of your arches lifting up on both feet and the four corners of the feet into the floor. Good. We're going to turn the left palm up. Bring your right hand to your right leg and inhale straight up with that left hand. And now see if you can feel like you're almost reaching to the ceiling with the tips of the fingers. Breathing into that left side. Oh, there's one of you in here who can almost really touch the ceiling. And then we're going to come into side angle. So bring in your left hand or forearm to your thigh. And you're more than welcome to add that right arm up overhead. So that's up to you. You know, in side angle, the arm can be straight up, and that's fine. You can bring the arm in closer towards your head and turn the pinky down towards the ground. Find space between your ear and your shoulder. We're going to come on back into warrior two from there. Pressing those feet away from each other, reaching out through the fingertips. Don't forget that back arm back there. Let it feel just equal to the front one. And we're going to bring our hands down, and we're going to find our way into lunge. So you can bring your hands down to the chair, to the blocks, whichever works. Bringing your right heel now directly behind your foot. And we're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and roll that shoulder up and come into a twist here. So, you know, try to stay as level as you can in your hips so you're not dropping. Same levelness we talked about when we were in the wide-legged forward bend. And if you'd like to stretch your left arm up, you can. You might even want to look up towards your hand. That's up to you. And then we'll come on back down with that hand. We're going to step forward and get our feet right under us. Bend your knees a little bit. Let yourself take your time in your forward bend. Elbows above your knees, of course, if you need to. And then press into your feet equally, and we're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So see if you can, let yourself just sway a little bit front to back. So you shift just a little bit towards the balls of the feet. Not so much that you want to fall over. And then a little more to your heels. So you have this gentle just swaying back and forth. And now come back into feeling centered. And see if you can do that same thing right to left. Just a gentle shifting more to the right and then more to the left. Good. And now come back to center. And now see if you can go forward and then to one side, and you're going to circle. Come back and to the other side. Keep that circle going. So you're circling around easily. And when you get ready to go the other direction, you stop where you want and then try to let yourself go off in the other direction. And this time, see if you can let those circles get smaller and smaller and smaller. Really kind of just like you're going down the drain until you get right in the middle. And you're so balanced. Balanced between the front and the back of your feet, between the right and the left side. Enjoy your mountain pose. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us, shake out just a little bit, and we're going to come to the other side. So this time it'll be the left foot that steps back to come into warrior two. So you know you can put your hand on your chair if you need to, by all means do. Let yourself line up your heels and get that right knee lined up with the center of the foot. Remember, it's this idea that this outer right hip drops down and draws back a little bit. That lines your knee up. And then we'll bring our arms on up and out and flex your hands now. Again, see if you can flex both your hands. Let yourself feel the undersides of the arms. And then go ahead and bring the palms down. Reach out through the fingertips now. Let your shoulders soften down. It's again this thing that you're holding up your arms from underneath. So the tops of the shoulders are released down. Good. We're going to turn the right palm up. Left hand comes down to the leg. Reach straight up towards the ceiling. Now, you don't have to look up. If it bothers your neck, you can look forward. Inhale into the right ribs here. Feel like you're reaching even higher. And on the exhale, come on into your side angle. So your right hand or forearm can come down to your thigh. And then you can decide, do you want the left arm to come up in line, right? With that left side of the body, turning the pinky down, drawing your shoulder away from your ear? Or would you rather let your arm come straight up? That's up to you. Be where you can. Find that huge sense of length in your spine here. And you're also equally long through the sides of your body. Nice. We're going to come on back to warrior two. Pressing those feet away from each other gets us right back into that core strength. And we're going to bring our hands down. We're going to find lunge. So again, you can use the back of your chair. You can use the seat of your chair. You can come to blocks. You can come to the floor if you want. And then we'll bring our right hand on up to our right hip, rolling that shoulder on up. And if you can put your palm flat on your sacrum, do. Again, you're trying not to drop too much into that left side. And then adding that right arm up from your shoulders, totally optional. Let yourself be where you can. And we are going to bring that hand on back down, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right under us again. Take your time, get your feet set. Make sure you don't have one foot farther forward than the other or one foot turned out more than the other. And then see if you can just bend both your knees. Let yourself really bend your knees quite a bit. And then bring your hands to your thighs. Lengthen your spine out by supporting yourself with your hands there on your thighs. Really nice flat back. And then press into the feet and keep rising on up to standing. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to adjust a little bit to come into your mountain pose, do. Just imagine for a second that you're inhaling and exhaling through every pore of your skin. So if you could breathe through your skin, like every bit of your skin. Both the inhale and the exhale, however, think about it. Certainly settle everything down, wouldn't it? We're going to release our arms on out beside us at the same time and shake everything out. And we're going to leave our mats where they are so we don't have to mess with moving around. But let's go to a wall where you can put your hands on a wall. And we're actually going to face a wall. So kind of find a spot where you feel comfortable because there's plenty of room. Joe, you can use either one of those walls. And as you might want to look, I'm going to put my hands on the wall. And I'm going to cross right ankle either below towards my ankle in front of my left ankle or above my left knee. And then I'm just going to bend my knee and start to just shift my hips back a little bit, walk my hands down. So it's a figure 4 hip release. Doesn't mean you have to go very deeply. And certainly don't do anything that makes your hip feel uncomfortable or your knee. And take your time. Keep flexing through that right foot. So you're energized as you flex through the foot. You've got a little bit of energy there into the hip as you're trying to stretch a little bit there. Good. One more breath. And then come on back up. We're going to switch legs. So you might want to walk your hands up to get yourself, again, where you want that left ankle, either above the knee or down in front of your ankle. And then if you can walk your hands down and let yourself come into a little bit deeper release there for that left hip. Flex through the foot if you've got the foot up above your knee. Take your time. Let it feel really easy to release into your hip there. Good. Nice. And then come on, uncross. Come on back a little closer to the wall. Left hand is going to be on the wall. We're going to bend our right knee. Now, some of us can reach back and get our foot, and some of us can't. So if you can't do it, don't do it. If it feels fine to reach back and get hold of the top of your right foot, do. And then if you've got the foot, even if you don't have the foot, you're going to think about pulling your heel in towards your buttocks. Whether it's using the muscles of your legs or using your arm to help you pull it in a little bit. And then press the foot into your hand. Let your chest come a little towards the wall. Send your right knee back behind you a little bit. Now you can stay right there, pressing that foot into the hand or not even having your foot in your hand and letting yourself stay there. If you want to rise your left hand off the wall, you can bounce a little bit. If you want to go deeper towards the wall with your chest and put your hand on the wall up higher, you can come there if you like. So just be mindful. Take your time. Good. And then we're going to release. Let that leg come down. Take it out a little bit. Walk a little bit in place. We're going to do the other side. So once you stand on that right foot and you bend your left knee, again, you don't have to get the foot. You can draw the heel in without using your left hand back on your foot. If you do have the foot, kind of pull your heel in. Don't resist it first. Pull your heel in towards your buttocks a little bit, kind of towards the outside of the buttocks. And then Go ahead, if you have the foot, press the foot into the hand like you're trying to make your leg long again. You're going to feel that openness across your chest. See if you can send your knee back and your chest a little forward. Now, if you like to balance a little bit, you can, or you can bring the hand up higher on the wall and go closer with your chest towards the wall. I even like to rest my head on the wall and let myself release there. So just play, balancing if you'd rather or not. Good. And then we're going to release and come on down. And we're going to make our way back onto our mats and lie on our bellies right away on the floor. So let yourself come down and make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your hands. And take your time, bend your knees, and let your feet move around back there however you want. You can circle your feet. You can let yourself do windshield wiper blades with your lower legs coming one side to the other. Good, and then let your knees come out towards the edges of your mat. So your knees are out farther away from the midline. And then bend your knees and let your feet just come together to rest on each other. So you could think about letting the soles of the feet come towards each other, letting them come down a little bit if it's not too much in your hips. Or you can just leave them up, right? If it feels good to let them come down lower, you can. Sometimes that feels really good. It depends on how you're built. So just be mindful and think about releasing now through the hips. Not forcing anything at all, letting it feel like a release. Good, and then bring the feet back up, stretch the legs out, and the feet are going to go now towards the corners of the mat down there. So your legs are a little apart, right? You're going to stretch your arms up towards the front corners of your mat. You can rest your forehead here on the mat for a second. And now come up to just the tips of your fingers and thumbs. And when you inhale, let your legs and your head float up a little bit, and your chest, okay? Just a little. And then when you exhale, come on back down. And then again, inhale the head and the legs up a little bit. And then exhale and come back down again. And now this time when you inhale, see if you can let your hands float up as well. This is the hardest locus, really. So you don't have to be high to be really engaging your back here. And then we're going to come on back down. We're going to bring our elbows close to under our shoulders. Let yourself clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out, and bend your knees and lift up right away into a half forearm plank. And then pull like you're pulling yourself towards the front of your mat. So your elbows are going to go more towards your knees. Your knees come up a little more towards your elbows, and you're on the flesh above your knees. Engage your belly here. Let yourself press gently into your forearms. Good. And then if you want to put your feet down, you can, and you can lift up into a full forearm plank if you so choose. Only if you want. Otherwise, let yourself rest if you need to, coming down from that half forearm plank. Or maybe you want to stay in the half forearm plank, right? Good. So one more breath there. And then let yourself release down. And this time, bring your hands by your chest, your upper chest. At first, let your elbows wing out. Your elbows kind of go out towards the outside edge of your mat, which doesn't feel very good. And then hug them in, like they're hugging in towards your ribs. And imagine you're reaching them down towards your waist and let your head float up. And there is a little cobra pose, right? You can come down and rest if you need. Some of you may decide you want to come up all the way into straight or not straight or locked elbows. Elbows are a little bent, but you can come up into a cobra pose if you choose. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good for you. And then from here, we're going to shift back towards pose of a child. So wherever you are at, see if you can make your way towards child's pose. And big toes together. How far apart your knees are is totally up to you. You can let yourself either make a pillow with your hands and rest your head on your hands. You can stay up onto your forearms so you're not bending your knees so deeply. You can leave your arms soft overhead. Or you might even want to bring your arms back alongside your legs. Let your palms turn up towards the ceiling. You have to find what works for you in child's pose. As a releasing pose, breathing into your low back, feeling the low back expand as you inhale. Good. And one more breath here. And then letting yourself come on up, using your hands however you need to help you. We're going to come on around to sitting. And if you know sitting is much better for you done with a blanket underneath, you grab one. And have your blocks too. Let's bring our feet pretty far out in front of us. And you know how we just kind of had our feet come together in a reclined Baddha-Konasana on our belly? Well, now we're seated doing that bound angle pose, right? So, but we're trying to let the angles be a lot less. Rather than pulling our feet in towards us, we're letting them stay out there. And if it feels better to put blocks underneath your knees, do. If you're fine, it feels really good to hang your knees, let them hang out, then do. It really depends on you. And from here, let's just bring our hands behind us. Stay up on your fingertips. Walk back enough to where it's really easy to feel like that string attached to your sternum is being drawn forward and up on a bit of a diagonal line. So your shoulders roll down and back, and you're really opening up through the chest here. And you can come into a three-part breath here, inhaling into your belly, then your ribs and your chest. And then let yourself release your hands forward and come a little bit forward. And that might be just a little bit. You might come from your low back and want to stay up high. Or some of you may feel like, oh, it just sounds good to just let myself go and come forward over my legs. And that all has to do with how you're built. So you find what releases you the most. Try to let go through your neck. So you're not tensing up, lifting your chin up, but you're, really letting yourself release through your neck, your throat. Good. And then we're going to make our way back up. Take your time. Let yourself come on back up. Let's stretch our left leg out in front of us and bring our right foot over and across somewhere on the outside of that leg. So if you have to send this leg a little more to the midline, do. The foot can be above or below the knee. But just let your left hand come onto that right knee. Let yourself inhale into the length of your spine first. And then as you exhale, reach this right hand back a little bit. Think about reaching towards the wall behind you with your hand. And then lower it down, fingertips lightly touching the floor, letting yourself come into twist. Now, if you feel better to release, to let your left arm come across to that right leg, if that feels really good for you, you can do that. You can just rest the crook of your elbow on the knee or your hand. Good. So one more breath here. And then use your belly to let yourself unwind on back around into center. We are going to switch to stretch the right leg out and bring the left foot over to the outside. Again, it can be below or above your knee. It doesn't matter. Use your right hand there on your left knee to lengthen up. So you really got to feel that length first. And then start to reach that left hand. And imagine you're reaching back, 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 back towards the wall behind you before you lower it down, just lightly touching the ground. Again, hand can stay on your knee. You can release your arm across if that feels good. Just enjoy coming into that twist, feeling your sitting bones on the ground. Beautiful. Good. One more breath. Now use your belly to bring you on back around into center and stretch those legs on out in front of you. Shake it out a little bit. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So make your way on down. You might want to have your blocks handy in case you like them for bridge pose. See if you can bring your knees in towards your chest and cross your left ankle in front of your right ankle. And your knees are going to kind of come to the side and your ankles are crossed. And you can just kind of stay there, let the low back release. You can, if you want, reach to the outside of your legs and hold onto your feet if that feels good in your back and your hips. And then just switch the cross of your feet so you have the other one on top and you feel evened out there. Good. And then bring your feet on back down to the floor. And let's set up for either a bridge pose where you're letting yourself have your arms long, or you can bend your elbows to 90 degrees and do the palms facing each other. Or you can grab a block and go into supported bridge right now if you want. If you are going to press into the arms and rise on up into bridge, if you get up there, you get yourself rolled under with your shoulders, and you feel like you didn't start with your feet quite in the right place, then come down and readjust. And of course, if you'd rather get a block and rest on a block right now, you can put a block any height, totally supporting you on your sacrum so that you can just release there and let yourself just enjoy the back bend with support. No, and don't wait for me. If you feel like moving up and down from your bridge, go right ahead and do that. If you feel better to stay on the block and play a little bit when you're resting on the block, you can play with the legs coming up in the air when you're on the block. You can do little ab work there if you want to, or you use your legs, do little leg lifts. Sometimes supported bridge, it doesn't have to be where you're not working a little bit, but it can be. Good. And then, when you're ready to come down, take your time as you let yourself, especially if you're on that block, be mindful when you come on down to the mat with your back on the floor now. Let your feet widen out on your mat and let your knees just come from side to side now. So you're just letting yourself release a little bit with the knees side to side. Start to listen to your own body. There might be another movement or pose right now that you just immediately want to do, right? It could be as easy as bringing your knee in towards your chest and releasing, doing little twists of one leg to a side. It could be stretching your legs up in the air. You might need another kind of hip release. You might want to do that figure 4 we did standing on your back here. So just be mindful. Let your body be the boss of you for a few minutes here. We're always trying to tell ourselves what to do, but maybe if we could listen what our body needs a little more. So be mindful, take your time, you know, I start out with going to get lights, and then I'll proceed on to getting stuff, like support for our Shavasana. Remember, the most important thing for Shavasana is to be comfortable. There is nothing that's right or wrong about how you want to relax for Shavasana. Lying in the traditional on your back with your legs long, your arms out beside you, your palms turned up, just does not feel relaxing. Don't do it. Find what support. I can bring bolsters for underneath your knees. I can bring blankets to put under your head, especially if you feel like your neck is, you're reaching up a little bit with your chin. So wave at me with the idea. I know some people, I'll get the people I know, and then if I miss somebody who needs a bolster or needs a blanket, I'll look for waves. So all the bolster does, you know, is just change your back a little bit. Changes the pelvis a little bit to sometimes relieve the low back. Now that's not true for everybody. So, still walking. Give me a wave if something sounds good to you. And just let yourself appreciate the feeling of the ground underneath you, supporting you. So easy to relax when you have that firmness of the floor and to feel how really your body wants to soften. And start to just enjoy watching the wave of your own breath as it comes in and goes out easily. So you're not forcing your breath, you're just accepting. Helps you to continue to come back to your breath, and that might mean just when you find yourself off thinking, just remembering to come back. It might mean you like counting your breaths, or you might have a mantra or a word that you like to think when you inhale and exhale. But just give yourself, it's a gift, a few minutes. Trust that your body will get what it needs from everything we just did. And to allow yourself to completely and fully relax. come back to feeling the ground underneath you, supporting you again. And let your breath gradually come in and go out more fully and deeply, starting to really allow yourself to feel physical and maybe want to physically move again. If your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet start to feel like moving and wiggling around, you can start to come up through your extremities into your arms, your legs when you're ready. You might want to stretch, you might want to bring your knees in, and you know you're welcome to roll to either side if you're comfortable to be on your side for a couple of breaths to give yourself time to adjust. You can stay on your side in a soft fetal position. Of course, if you're making your way to sitting, just be mindful of getting comfortable. Let your eyes stay closed too if you can, or close them again once you get up, if you open them on the way up. So you can just allow yourself to stay inwardly focused a little bit longer. Getting comfortable about how you're sitting, feeling the top of your head just gently reaching upwards so you have all that space in your spine. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Thursday. Yes. Bravo. Yeah. Take your time.